We started with what is research, if you remember, what is legal research. Then we saw the different types of research methods, that is qualitative, quantitative, descriptive, analytical, applied, so on and so forth. We also saw why research is important, what is the utility of research, who all do research, and some other allied topics. Also, we tried to touch upon the concept of predatory journals and why we should not publish in them, and how to identify the authentic ones. We spoke of Scopus and UGC Care and other important databases, other important indices. Okay, whether a journal is indexed or not, whether the ISSN number is allotted or not, you have to check all of these and then only you apply and submit your manuscript. So, all of these we have discussed. Let's take it ahead from there. Wherever you choose to publish your research paper, whichever topic you choose for your research, what is important? It should be an objective research. Okay, this is where we stopped yesterday. Objectivity, validity, accuracy. Your research should be authentic. It should be verifiable. If anybody wishes to verify the data, verify the research, it should be authentic, valid, reliable. It should give the same results if it is replicated, replicability, and consistency. So, I guess this is the juncture, the point where we stop. Let us take it ahead from here. So, welcome back, everyone. Today, we are going to focus on the format of a research paper. We are going to look at the different elements of a research paper, how to write a good research paper, what should be the flow of a research paper. Along with that, we'll also go through plagiarism. I think we just spoke about it yesterday a little bit. So, what is plagiarism? What is a plagiarism report? Why is it important to check whether your research is authentic or is it plagiarized? Will it get published or not? So, all of these. Apart from that, we will also look into some other aspects of research like citation styles and footnoting. So, let's begin with the format of a research paper. Wherever you think it is relevant for your research or something that you want to jot down, you can take a screenshot or you can just write down certain points. Okay. Every research paper will have more or less all of these elements in common. Every research paper, irrespective of whether it is a qualitative research, a quantitative research, whether it is a social science research like psychological research, or whether it's a legal research paper, it will have certain elements in common. However, a scientific research paper, like if you are focusing on pure science, for example, biology, pharmacy, chemistry, physics, okay, engineering. So, if you want to write a research paper which falls in one of these disciplines, it might be a little different as it has lengthy descriptions of laboratory experiments and patents in it. Because most of you might be knowing, if anybody is from the science field, that when a research gets completed and it gets approved, most of the times if there is some novelty in it, some invention in it, it gets patented, it gets a patent protection. So scientific research papers are a little different and we are not going to focus on them for now. Let us focus on legal research. Okay, our focus is on research papers of the law and social science fields. What do you start with? Now, let us go on to writing a research paper. If you want to write a research paper or an article and submit it, what would be the first thing that will attract a publisher? The title. So, remember that the title has to be very attractive. It has to be something which arouses curiosity in the reader, in the publisher. They would want to read it, they would want to publish it. So, it should be something which is short, descriptive. Okay, it can be a little descriptive one, that is, you can describe your research area, your problem area, but it should not be very long. Okay, I have written long but not very long. It cannot run into paragraphs, it has to be a single statement. Okay, analytical, it might be a little analytical, it can talk about certain critical areas where you want to critique or where you want to evaluate certain things. You can use that kind of a title, but you should never use negative terms. Try not to use negative words like no, not, unlikely. Okay. Uh, you should not use these words like nothing, okay, cannot. So these negative terms should be avoided in a title. Always use a neutral sentence or a neutral statement, which later on you will, if it's a, we will go to that a little later. If it's a hypothesis, you will test that tentative statement. But try to use a title, try to use a sentence which is going to be attractive. That is, it is going to arouse curiosity. People would want to read about your research paper. It should not give any negative meaning. It should not have a negative, it should not give a negative vibe, right? It should be short and also complete in itself. You cannot just use words here and there without, loose words without tying them. So it has to be a complete sentence or a complete statement, but it should not be too long. Affiliation. What do you mean by affiliation? Affiliation is your college or university or your school of law, wherever you are affiliated. Say, suppose you are a student of LLB or LLM, you will use your student affiliation. If you are a faculty or a research scholar who is currently employed in a college or a university, you'll use that affiliation. If you are doing PhD, or if you are working with some NGO or a funding organization or an international organization, you have received a scholarship to work for a research project, you can use that affiliation. Next would be abstract and keywords. You might be knowing that even before reading the title, people go and read the abstract just to know what is included in the entire text, in the entire manuscript. So it's very important to have a good short abstract which will summarize the entire manuscript in not more than 250 words. Okay, abstract should be limited to 250 words. In some research papers, it might go on to around 300 to 400 words also, but mostly you will find it not more than 250 words. Keywords. After the abstract or the summary, you have to also highlight certain key areas of your research. Keywords should be not more than five. Four to six, maximum we say is five. Say, suppose you're working on domestic violence as your research area. So, what would be the keywords? Domestic violence in India. Say, suppose that is your topic. What would be the keywords then? Think of the keywords. Domestic violence is one of the keywords. Another would be household relations. Another one would be gender justice. Another one could be sustainable development goals, because that is one of the sustainable development goals, SDGs, which all countries have to achieve by the end of 2030, 2030. All countries are expected to, as per UN guidelines, they have to accomplish these goals. That is, there are certain global goals that all the countries have to achieve. That is, ending poverty, trying to bring about a balance when it comes to environmental goals, gender justice, health. So, gender justice is one of them. Domestic violence is a part of gender justice. So, you can highlight these keywords which will attract the readers and also the publishers. And if anybody wants to track your article, where is your article, in which journal, according to the theme. Okay, so domestic violence, gender justice, household relations, these will be the major themes. So keywords are extremely important. Remember that. Another one would be introduction. Introduction is the main opening passage to your research. So it has to be a very well structured one. In the introduction itself, you can claim certain aspects of your research. You can claim how important it is. The utility of the research can be carved out in the introduction itself. You can highlight the usefulness of the research to the society. You can highlight how it is useful for the industry. Who are the beneficiaries? Try to state the beneficiaries. Say, suppose you're working on a research project which is about medical negligence. So who are the beneficiaries? Who is going to benefit from your research? The patients as consumers, patients who have been victimized, okay, patients who have been victims of medical negligence in the past. So you can try to structure your introduction in such a way that people would want to know what is the utility of your research, how useful is it, And because of its usefulness, they will, try to uh, cite it in their own literature. If anybody is doing a research, they will always cite your paper, they will give your reference in their research work, because it is useful. It is useful to the society, it is useful to the patients, it is useful to the consumers. Okay, so always highlight who are the beneficiaries. In the introduction itself, you can also explain the statement of the problem. What is your problem area? Say, suppose medical law. Medical law is the broad area. What is the narrower area? Medical negligence. Who has done this negligence? The doctors, maybe, the hospital, maybe, the paramedical staff, maybe. So you have to also highlight all of these, and then come on to the actual problem. What is the research area that you are talking about? Medical negligence amongst maybe patients who were undergoing a particular surgery, and in a particular territory, say suppose India. In India, which area? Maybe the state of Maharashtra, or maybe Mumbai. So you, or Navi Mumbai. So you have to ultimately narrow it down, your research, and then only you can come to the proper objectives of the study. So, what are the objectives? Why you want to conduct this research? How is it going to help the society? What is the rationale? Is there a particular law that already deals with this problem? If there is a law, what are the loopholes of the law? Or if there is no law, are you going to suggest any, make any recommendations or suggestions as to what kind of legislation can help in that particular direction? So you have to try to mention all of these in the introduction itself. That will develop the curiosity of the reader to read further, of the reviewer to review further, of the publisher to publish it, to go ahead and publish it because of its utility. So try to incorporate all of these points in the introduction itself. Review of literature. Then comes your review of literature. We will also touch upon this point today in detail, a little more in a little more detail later on. So, what is review of literature? Review of literature basically is trying to see what has been done by other researchers. Okay, what all has been published by other researchers before you. Before you start your research, you have to see to it that your research area, your problem area, has been touched upon, has been addressed by other researchers in their own unique ways. So, how have they addressed your issue? So, that is literature review. We will come to this a little later, but for now, just remember that the flow of the research paper is such that after the introduction and setting out the problem area and the objectives of the study, utility of the study, you also have to show your literature review. Okay, literature review is followed by the research method. What kind of research method have you chosen? For example, you have chosen qualitative research or quantitative research or descriptive research. We talked about these different methods yesterday. So, the kind of doctrinal or non doctrinal empirical research that you are going to do, you have to mention it in the research methods and techniques. Now, if you're doing quantitative research, you'll have to mention your hypothesis. What is hypothesis? It is a tentative statement that you have made in order to explain what kind of research you are doing. For example, if you're talking about a particular statistical research or a quantitative research, you will have to carve out a particular hypothesis, that is, a particular statement, which can be tested using different statistical methods. For example, let's take that example which we took yesterday also, to find out if an increase in the access to cyber technology is also leading to an increase in the crimes against women or cases of domestic violence against women. So, what is happening over here? There is a correlational study. We are trying to test whether, we are trying to test this hypothesis whether the increase in access to cyber technology is also causing another phenomena, that is, increase in domestic violence against women or cyber crimes against women in India. So, if we want to conduct this particular study, what do we do? After arriving at this hypothesis, after arriving at this tentative statement, we will try to analyze the entire area or the location where we want to conduct our study. So we try to go into our setting, okay, our research setting. What would be the research setting? It would be a territory, a territorial area, for example, India. But do we want to study about the entire country, or do we want to only focus on cities where there is advanced technology available at every household, at every doorstep? So we go on to the metro cities. In the metro cities, we perhaps might not take all the cities. Let us take cities of the western part of India or the southern part of India. Let us again restrict ourselves. Okay. And we cannot take all the people living in those cities. Can we? No. We will have to take a sample out of the entire population. So that is how we go on narrowing our research until and unless we get what we want. That is data collection. Hence, in research methods, we have to mention our hypothesis, our variables. Variables are the two important concepts that we have taken, the two important operationalized concepts. What are they? In our example, increase in access to cyber technology in the cities, in metropolitan cities. That would be one of them. Another would be increase in domestic violence, or if we want to take cyber crimes, increase in cyber crimes against women. So these would be our variables. How would we test them? Using different statistical techniques. Okay. Population is important in order to understand what kind of population do we have at hand. So is it metropolitan, urban population? Is it a young population that we want to study? Is it a population which is of middle age or senior citizens? So that again, you can define your population. You will not take all the people in those cities. It is impossible to do that. Mostly you will conduct, you will conduct the study with a sample. Also would be a restricted sample. You cannot take everybody as your sample is always a smaller population that you will conduct the study with. So sample size, sampling technique, there are different techniques of selecting that sample, and that sample will give you what? Your data. Your data will be given by those people whom you have selected as your sample. Okay. So people will respond to your research questions, they will respond to your survey, they will respond to what questions you put up to them only if you conduct this as a experiment, if you conduct this as a survey that is quantitative. In quantitative you have other techniques as well, but we will focus on these. Another type of doing your research is, another research methodology is qualitative, okay, which is just the opposite, where the number of research participants involved will be more or less, they can be from any area that you have selected. But what would they be doing? They are not responding to any survey, they are not responding to any mechanical questions. So what are you doing? You will have to mention the area from where you have chosen these people. You will also mention the techniques that you have chosen to collect data. For example, interviews, individual interviews of doctors. Okay, you can ask doctors about certain malpractices happening in the medical field. You can ask victims of medical negligence, or you can ask patients about euthanasia. If these are your research areas, you can ask them about euthanasia. Should it be allowed? Should it be made, mandatory for certain illnesses, for certain sicknesses? If the patient is beyond cure, there's no cure, the patient's condition is such that it is better to administer euthanasia. So you can ask certain questions directly, like an interview, and gather the data, collect the data, process it, and analyze it. So that would be qualitative research. Another method would be observation, okay, in qualitative research. A third method can be doctrinal and non-doctrinal sources. That is, you can study different treatises, different laws, different case laws, that is judgments of Supreme Court, High Court, International Court of Justice. You can study different principles of law, Latin maxims, different newspaper reports, different journals, and you can compare them. That is a comparison method. You can compare even the different jurisdictions. That is, what is the Indian law about euthanasia? What is the law in the US about euthanasia? What is the law in Australia? What is the law in Japan? And you can compare all of these. That is also one of the research methods, comparison method of doctrinal, non-doctrinal sources. Okay. Then after data collection is done, what is the next stage? Analysis of data, processing the data. You can use statistical methods if required. You can take the help of a statistician also if required. If you are not good with statistics, there are many packages that are available. There are many statisticians who can help you with your research, and there are different packages like SPSS, and there are different statistical tools which can be used, and you can process your data, analyze the data, and accordingly go on to the next stage, that is reporting of your research. Next, after you have done data collection, analysis, the next step would be reporting of your data, that is report writing or research paper writing. You get on to writing the research paper, you get on to reporting the results of your research. Results can be positive, they can be negative. That is, you might have started with a journey, you might want to find something, but you might have found something else. It is okay. Okay, whatever results you have got, whatever results you have in your hand, you have to publish them, you have to state them in a systematic manner. So, results would be whatever data you have collected, analyze the data, and whatever is the end result, you have to give your results. Findings would be what have you found out, what have you understood, your interpretation of the data, your interpretation of the law that is applicable. Okay, according to the findings and the results, you have to also give your own unique explanation, suggestions, recommendations to make the situation a little better. As we spoke of yesterday, we are talking about research which is problem solving. What is research? We are trying to arrive at a solution. We are trying to develop new knowledge. Why are we developing this new knowledge? To find solutions to existing problems. That is the reason we have to give recommendations, solutions, critical analysis, conclusion. That is our discussion. We have to do this. Okay, this part is extremely important in a research paper. Otherwise, your research paper will be more or less like an essay, it will be more or less like a textbook, which we do not want. We want new knowledge to be created, we want new solutions to contemporary problems. That is the reason some research papers also mention the term the way forward. What do you mean by the way forward? How will you solve a particular problem, your research problem? How will you take it forward? What is the future of your research? How will it help the present times and the future? That is the reason you also have to adopt a futuristic approach. Okay, so the way forward, these are the words you can use. References. After report writing is completed, you have reported the results of your research, given your recommendations, you need to always give references. We will come to this a little later today when we talk of citation styles, but just remember, what are references? Whatever literature you have used, whatever resources you have used, whether you have used print material or online material, websites, databases, case laws, quotes, Latin maxims, judgments said by others, the works of others, you need to give due acknowledgement to them, because you have been using what other people have quoted, what other people have written, what other people have said. So it's always important to give proper references. That is your bibliography, the books that you refer to, the research papers that you refer to, the reports of international organizations, for example, UNESCO or World Health Organization or World Bank or International Monetary Fund or International Labour Organization, ILO, whichever reports you have chosen for your research, which were relevant for your research, whichever statistics or data you have referred to, you need to give a proper referencing. You need to give proper bibliography, the list of things that you referred to, without which your research will not be accepted. You cannot say that I did it everything on my own, or this is everything in my own words. No, it might be in your own words, but you have referred to certain material which was already available in the public domain. So you need to give references, which is very important. Tables and figures. Tables would be, you can draw a table of cases, the cases that you have discussed. For example, MC Mehta's cases, if it's an environmental or research paper, you might have referred to different cases from uh, the Supreme Court or the High Court. So you can give a table of uh, cases at the end. So if anybody wants to read them in depth, they can go to that particular citation, they can go to that particular case in the Supreme Court Reporter or the All India Reporter, AIR, or they can just go to SCC Supreme Court cases and they can check that case and read it in detail. So give a table of cases. If you have used certain figures, if you have used certain images, give a list of those images, give a list of those figures. From where did you take that particular image or that photo? Perhaps it is subject to copyright, so you'll have to mention all of those things in the tables and figures. Glossary, you can also, this is optional, you can give a list of terms that you have used and their meanings, especially if there are new terms or some technical jargons. For example, you are writing a research paper which comes from the forensic field. So there are certain terms which everybody might not be well versed with. For example, an inquest report. What is an inquest report? Okay, what is a post mortem? What are the different types of injury marks? Okay, and what is their relevance? So if you want to explain these things, you might not explain them in your research paper, but later on as a glossary, uh, as an addition to your research paper or thesis, you can write them in your glossary and explain them there. Abbreviations, short forms. If your research paper uses or your thesis uses short forms, you can later on give a list of the short forms and their full forms so that there's no confusion amongst the readers and the reviewers. List of cases, again, as I said, you can draw a table of cases, you can give a list of cases, Supreme Court, High Court, or international cases. Appendix. Appendix would be a list of documents or evidence that supports your argument. There can be some other documents that you might have mentioned in your research, but you have not explained everything about it. So you can just add it up as an additional document towards the end of your research, okay, towards the end, like a patent or like a particular certificate. Say suppose you are writing about copyright and there's a copyright certificate that you have, so you can just add it at the end. That is a document that comes at the end. Next. Okay, so after we have seen what are the important essential elements of a research paper or even a thesis, what all things are important that go into your research, let us go on to the referencing style, the citation styles in a little more detail. We just spoke of references or bibliography. So, in order to give references, in order to state what literature you have referred to, what works have you referred to, which belong to others, and you have referred to them in your own research, you need to give proper references. And these references can be referred to by the readers if they want to read in detail. Say, suppose you have taken a sentence from somebody else who has written on a topic like medical negligence, you have just quoted two or three sentences from that person's research. But a reader or a reviewer or a publisher might want to verify whether you have actually taken those sentences from that research. Or they might want to read that research in detail in its entirety. So you can give a proper footnote or a proper endnote. You can give a proper reference, and they can go on to that link or they can go into that particular book or that treatise or that text or that particular journal, and they can read it in detail. So that gives you some kind of support. Okay, you cannot add anything and everything in your research, you cannot make it too long and too vague. That is not possible. So in order to cut short on the number of words that you put in order to cut short on the paragraphs, what can you do? You can just put a footnote or an endnote, and you can just give a reference that for more knowledge on this particular topic, to read in detail, you can go on to this link, or for more on this particular case law, you can just read this particular case analysis and you can give that link. So that helps you to cut down on your words, because in some journals there are strict guidelines as to how you have to limit your research to 4,000 words or 10,000 words and not more than that. They might give you a particular word limit. So you also need to keep a track of your word count. How many words have you used? Coming to citation styles, there are different citation styles that you can choose from. What is citation basically? Citation is the way we put forward that particular reference. Okay, the way we present that particular author's name, date of publication, year of publication, that particular journal, the name of the article, and all of those things. Okay, it's the way you develop a particular mindset or a particular framework. Okay, a mental framework of putting those things in order. So that is citation basically. Citation can be simply defined as a set of rules telling how to acknowledge the thoughts, ideas, and works of others in a particular way. It is a crucial part of successful academic writing, and it is key to the assignments and research. If you want to do good research work, you'll have to be very good in your referencing and citation styles. A researcher needs to use a predefined style stating how to set them out, which are called citation styles. Okay, you do not have to develop your own citation style. They are already set out, they're already there. You just have to select which is most appropriate for your own research. Okay, some type of citation styles are used more in law than in social sciences like economics or psychology, and vice versa. So you need to select which one is most appropriate. You can have a word with your professor or your guide. They can also help you to select what kind of citation style will suit you the most. Or else, if you are publishing for a journal, just go onto their website, check their guidelines. They will have mentioned that. Okay, they mostly mention that. Whether they want a Harvard Blue Book or they want Oscola or they want uh, whichever ILI, Indian Law Institute. Okay, so which kind of citation style do they prefer? That will be set out on their website itself. So you can go and check there. One needs to give proper references using footnotes, endnotes, bibliography, and proper citation styles as required by your research paper, your thesis, dissertation, book, or journal. Whatever you are publishing, it will have either footnotes or endnotes. Footnotes is at the end of the page itself. Okay. Endnotes is after the entire manuscript ends. Bibliography is again after the entire article or research paper or manuscript ends. After that, you give a bibliography. Okay, mostly since school we have been doing this. We have been giving a bibliography at the end of our research project or research paper. So it's not that very difficult. It's easy. It's like a skill. If you develop that skill, it's going to be easy. The more you practice, the easier it will become. Footnoting and citing references helps to reduce plagiarism in one's research work. The more you give footnotes, the more you try to give the proper referencing in your research, the less plagiarism you will get. That is, you can show that it's my authentic research. Wherever I have used the works of others, I have given them due credit. I have not copy pasted anybody's work. Okay, so that gives you a little more advantage when it comes to publishing. Let's see some of most popular citation styles. 7 citation styles. APA is the most common when it comes to social sciences, psychology, sociology, which is American Psychological Association, APA. Okay, it's also used in nursing, education, commerce, management, other fields. Then we have AGLC, which is Australian Guide to Legal Citation. This is mostly used in Australia, New Zealand. Okay, in India, it might not be used that much. APA is used in the US and also in India. Then we have Harvard Blue Book, which is the most common used for law. Okay, in law publishing, in publishing legal research papers, books, we mostly use Harvard. Harvard Blue Book. It's known as Harvard Blue Book. Then Chicago A and Chicago B. Okay, Chicago A is more or less like it's used for footnotes and bibliography. It is also known as author date system. Chicago is known as author date system. Why? Because we mostly use the name of the author. Say, suppose the author is uh, Donaldson. Okay, Donaldson, and the date would be uh, 2010. Donaldson 2010. That would be your author date style. Or maybe Sharma 2010. Sharma 2010 would be your author date style. Okay, the name of the author, mostly the surname and the date. So Chicago style is also one of the popular ones. Another one is MLA. Then there is Vancouver. These are different styles used for different fields of research. In law, the most common is Harvard. Another one is Oscola. Harvard is followed by American universities and institutes. Oscola is used by those which are British institutes, which are in the UK. Oscola, as the name itself suggests, Oxford citation, Oxford Standard Citation of legal authorities. Okay, Oxford Standard for citation of legal authorities. Oscola. So Oxford University and the other universities, they might use Oscola. So this is not something very difficult. Once you start practicing, it becomes very easy. Let us see some examples. MLA. Okay, let's see the example. This is a book, okay, published in 2015. So how is it mentioned? If you have referred to this book in your research paper, you will have to give this kind of a footnote. Airish, good, that is the name of the author, name of the book, deviant behavior. Where is it published? New Jersey. And by whom? The name of the publishing house is Pearson. Year is 2015. It is not an online book. It is a print copy, so it's written print. You can also give the number of that book, the ISBN number, if you have the number. If it's an online resource, what would you do? You would give a similar kind of citation, that is the name, the year of publication, the publishing house, Pearson or Sage Publications or whichever publishing house. And then at the end, you would also give the DOI, that is the digital object identifier, that the number of your the article or the particular research paper or book that you have referred to, the ISBN number. If it's an e-book, it can be an e-copy of the book. And you can give the website link also. Because if anybody wants to read it further, they can go onto that website, click onto that particular link, and then read that book in detail. So that is how you can use this MLA citation style. Another one is APA. APA is American Psychological Association. Again, you can see the difference. In APA, you have to give the year first. In MLA, you give the year at the end. In APA, you use just the surname, which is more important. In MLA, you use both the name and the surname. In ASA, which is a little different again, you can see that they haven't used any brackets. Whereas in APA, you put the year in the bracket. 2015 is in a bracket. So that is how every citation style will differ from each other a little, but it is not very difficult. Once you start reading and practicing, it will become easy, and it's nothing too tough. If you find any difficulty, you can always ask your professor or your guide, and they can help you with the citation styles. Next, Harvard. Harvard is used mostly in law books. In the law field, we use Harvard Blue Book. You might be knowing about it already, perhaps, because it's very common. In journals, research papers, in our dissertation, thesis, we use Harvard Blue Book, which is the most common. You can see here, Eliot G. 2017, Silas Marner. This is a book again, edited by Atkinson, and it's published by Oxford University Press. It can be a book, it can be a journal that you have referred to, or maybe it can be case law. So everything will have its own way of getting cited. A case law will be cited as per whichever citation you have chosen. Say, suppose Supreme Court reporter or High Court reporter, the way you cite the cases, it will have its own style of getting cited. If you're citing a website resource, that is a particular link on a website, you have chosen some statistics or some material, some data from a online resource like a website, then it will have its own way of getting cited. Once you just get to know how to do things, it will be easy. So now that we know why citing of literature is important, why we need to give references, why we need to acknowledge the work, the hard work of others and not just, copy paste. It is also important to do a proper literature review before we begin our research. I think I had spoken about literature review a little while ago when we spoke of the format of the research, right? The research paper. What is a literature review and what is its importance? Literature review is extremely important for any good research. A good research paper is always in need of a good literature review. So, what is literature review? In order to understand the significance of a good literature review, we need to first understand the meaning of literature. The literature is the body of academic research that has been published and disseminated through publications such as books, academic journals, practitioner journals, government databases, websites, and other sources. It's basically a shorthand way of referring to the sum of published knowledge about a particular subject. Let us take an example so you will understand it better. Say, suppose you want to publish a research paper and carry out research in the field of cyber crimes. Cybercrime is your research area. So, is it that you are the only one who is going to publish a research paper on cyber crimes and nobody has done any research before you? No, the answer lies in the negative. That is, people have had their own researches, people have had their own investigation of cyber crimes even before you came into the picture. So now what would you do? You would have to review that literature. You would have to refer to what other researchers have done before you. What are the advantages and disadvantages, strengths and weaknesses of their research? What are the loopholes of the existing research? What are the gaps? And how you can fill those gaps? How you can take it forward from there? That is known as literature review. You cannot publish a research paper or a thesis or a dissertation without doing a good literature review. In fact, this reviewing of existing available material gives you so many good ideas. So it's important to acknowledge others who have done that particular research before you. Okay, those who have chosen your research problem or similar research problems or areas before you. It's always important to give citations or references even in the literature review, and it is important to understand what are their shortcomings. Where did they uh, where did they lose out on certain areas? What are the things that they haven't done? What are the good things that you can do? So that is how literature review becomes important. A good literature review is a comprehensive summary of the ideas, issues, approaches, and research findings that have been published on a particular subject area or topic. What is already available to us, that is, you can choose. Say, suppose you are doing cyber crime, okay, that is your research area. You are doing a research on cyber crime. So choose what all are relevant to you and do a proper literature review before you begin to start with your own research, before you start to do your own data collection, analysis, writing of the research report, writing of the research paper. Before you go on to these steps, always do a literature review. However, it is not a simple description of all that is available. We are not just copy pasting, it's not a simple description, but a critical analysis of the available literature, pointing out the gap areas, the limitations, the inadequacies of the solutions proposed. A synthesis of all that data. You have to synthesize it, correlate it, and make it a little better. You can propose your own solutions to that particular problem. And that can be provided by the researcher in a systematic way in order to solve those contextual and contemporary problems. So, literature review becomes very important. There cannot be a good research without a literature review. Okay. In fact, doing a good literature review is not that easy. We might feel that there are so many websites, books, databases available to us these days, mostly free of cost. We can just go online and do a good literature review. Is that sufficient? Perhaps no. Many a times there is a lot of gray literature available. Gray literature is that literature which has been hidden, okay, which is not properly accessible to us. And that is the reason many a times our literature falls short of, our literature review falls short of the proper resources. For example, gray literature has been recently defined to include various types of documents produced by government, academic institutions, businesses, industries that are protected by IPR. They are protected by intellectual property rights. They are of sufficient quality to be collected and preserved by library holdings or institutional repositories, but not controlled by commercial publishers. That is, this kind of literature is not available into the public domain. There can be certain trade secrets that are important for your research. There can be certain confidential information, unpublished theses, dissertations, unpublished government data, internal minutes of the meeting or committee reports, confidential reports, which might be relevant to your research, but you are not able to access them. They are not available into the public domain. So, how will you refer to them? How will you try to understand them and their loopholes or their limitations? How will you suggest proper solutions to the problems then? Because you do not have the entire literature with you. So, that is the gray literature. That is a big challenge to researchers because we do not have access to gray literature. At times, you can try to access this by taking the due permissions, by consulting experts and getting proper data from the from the right sources, but at times it's not possible to do that. It would become too voluminous, too lengthy. You do not have enough time for it, and it takes a lot of time. It gets your submission delayed. So in a way, gray literature is a huge challenge. Okay, gray literature, there's a huge challenge to do proper research, to do proper literature review, and there are both pros and cons, risks involved in doing this. So always keep in mind both positive and negative aspects of existing literature that is available. Do not just copy paste, always try to get what is relevant for your research, and at the same time try to filter out what is not necessary, filter out what is too much controversial or something which is a piece of literature which you might not actually know everything about it. It might actually mislead you in your research. So keep those things out of your mind. Do not take those things. Take only that which is available to you properly, which you can rely upon, and always take the help of your professor or your guide. They will help you in this practice of literature review. Literature review helps the researcher to understand the kind of research methodology to be adopted, depending upon the limitations of the earlier researches at hand, and what is feasible, what is practicable for him or her to do so. So it's important to have a word with your guide in order to understand what is actually practicable, what is actually feasible. Only that you can do. Okay, you cannot identify certain areas which are not possible or practical to perform or to get access to. You cannot identify those areas which you cannot reach that particular target within a year's span or within the span of 2 years or 3 years. So you cannot identify such research areas. So that is the reason literature review becomes important. Purpose of a literature review: why do we need to do a good literature review? It helps us to summarize and analyze the research and theories that researchers have already given us, which is already available to us. So it gives us a cognitive framework, it gives us a roadmap. Where did this particular phenomenon start, or what all research is available regarding this particular subject, and where do I go from here? Where do I take it ahead? In which direction? Okay, to what particular milestone? How do I go ahead from here? So it will give us that cognitive framework. Identifying areas of controversy and contested claims, positive and negative aspects. Okay, points of controversy. The way we have to highlight even when we go for moot courts. Don't we do that? Issues from both the sides, plaintiff and defendant. Okay, the prosecutor side and the criminal defense side. We try to identify positives and negatives from both sides. Similarly, here also we have to identify in our research work what are the issues, what is the controversy about, and how can we identify both positives and negatives in our literature review. It helps us to arrive at certain important claims, certain important points. Highlight any gaps that may exist in research to date. So, what are the gaps that exist in the available research? How can we fill those gaps? That is the purpose of a literature review. Attain a good knowledge of the field of inquiry. Methodology is common in the field. Propose research helps to narrow down a problem. We cannot choose a problem area, as I said just now. We cannot choose a problem area which is very vague or which is not practicable, which is not feasible to do in a particular budget and in a particular time frame. So we have to narrow down our research. We cannot take anything and everything and take the entire time span or all eternity to do it. We have to narrow it down, both the scope of the research, the time frame, the budget. We have to work on a tight budget. So it's important to narrow down the research problem. Generation of hypotheses or research questions for further studies, and commence a long term study of interest. So, literature review helps you in all of these. That is the reason we start with a good literature review, and that is the starting point of a journey. Okay, research is not an outcome. Research is never an outcome or an end result. Research is always a journey. So we start on this journey. We cannot say that I've completed my research or I have finished my research. Research cannot be finished in 1 year or 2 years or even in 5 years. Research is a process. We can arrive at some juncture, or we can arrive at some kind of a threshold. We can arrive at some kind of a finishing line. But there is always more to it. There might be some researcher who will come after us in some point in time, and that person might add up to it in a much different way. That person might take that research to a much higher level than us. So research is never completed. Okay, we cannot say that our research is finished or completed. We submit the research at a particular juncture. We have to bring it to a closure, but there will be someone else who can always reopen that particular research area and can start his or her own contribution to that particular research area, and take it to another level. How to write a good research paper. Finally, in order to write a good research paper, we need to keep certain things in mind. Okay, this is a summary of what all we discussed. So, first of all, you start with a topic of your interest. Keep records, read a lot. That is, literature review should be good, should be strong with your basics. Whatever good research you get in your hands, that is, whatever knowledge you get, whatever websites you feel can be relied upon later, or whatever books they are good to read, bookmark them. Bookmark the pages, mark those pages. Even on the internet, you can just save those websites for future studies, because they are going to help you even at a later stage. Literature review helps you even at a later stage. Form a write up, create a mind map or outline of your work, a roadmap, how to go about it. Frame a budget and timeline for your research. You have to work within a budget and within a timeline for your research. You cannot just take entire, your entire 5 years or 10 years only for your research. You might be also working on other projects. You might be having a job, or you might be uh, having other higher studies or something like that. So it's always important that you balance your research work with other things, and there has to be a strict timeline, a deadline for it. Read again and again. You'll have to find out new knowledge about your topic. Reading, rethinking your argument from various angles, from various perspectives, drafting the body and giving references, citations, extremely important, citations that we discussed today, footnoting, revise your draft, add the beginning and the end. The beginning, the introduction part, and the end, the conclusion have to match. That is, once you have started with your research work and the time that you end it, you'll come to know whether your hypothesis gets tested, verified, whether it is now a proven fact, whether you started out right, and whether you have reached a proper destination. So, the things that you want to put forward, you want to put forth in your introduction, should also match with your conclusion. Proofread and edit. If you're not able to proofread or check your grammar, spelling, you have other things to do, and it's a very tedious task to sit over and over again with the same manuscript. You can also get certain proofreading services. You can ask some of your juniors or your colleagues or someone else to do it, experts to do it, and they will do it for you. Check plagiarism and keep it a minimum. Check the plagiarism level of your article or your thesis or your research paper. Try to keep it as a bare minimum. Submit for publication with a cover letter. Many a times, if you want to publish in a good journal, or you want to get published in a good book, if there is a book which is asking for different book chapters, if it's a journal, it is always important to submit a cover letter stating your interest area, your problem area, how you have gone about it, what is the research method you chose, and why. Along with that, you also give your CV. It makes a lot of impact. Okay, if you already have industry experience, if you are working in the criminal law field and you want to get published, you can show that. If you're already working in the field of technology and you want to publish a particular research paper on artificial intelligence or cybercrime, that will make an impact. So show your practical experience, or show where you're teaching or where you are interning or where you're working in your everyday life. Try to match that up with your research work. That makes an impact. Next, what is plagiarism? Coming to the end of the discussion, let us not forget how plagiarism is a huge threat to good academic publishing. Plagiarism is the theft of ideas or writings of another person. If we just copy paste the works of others without giving them due credit, it is going to hamper our research process. It is going to hamper academic and scientific research and writing. It amounts to the violation or infringement of intellectual property rights of other people, of other authors, of other researchers. Hence, a complete copy paste should always be avoided. We cannot copy paste others' works and give our own name and title to it. Wherever you use the works of others, always give proper references, give endnotes, footnotes, give the proper source from where you have borrowed that particular sentence, from where you have taken up that particular idea or that particular image. Okay, images and your literary works, they are all covered, even photographs, they are all protected by copyright. They are covered by IPR laws. So it's important to give your proper uh, references and due credit to the original author. If necessary, you can summarize and paraphrase. You can put those ideas into your own words. However, at the same time, when you use quotes, when you use certain things verbatim, when you just pick those things as it is important to give the proper references. Usually, 10% or less similarity is the mandate in universities and journals. Okay, 10% or less similarity is allowed. That is plagiarism. 10% or less is allowed, but not more than that. Check with your university or the journal where you want to publish what level of similarity do they allow. UGC has introduced strict norms since 2020, and even self plagiarism is not allowed now. If you have published a particular thesis or a dissertation or a research paper earlier, and now you want to publish something similar to it, so you just cut copy paste from your earlier work and publish it in another work, and you try to say that these are two different works. It is self plagiarism. That is, you have used your own works for newer works and it is not allowed. UGC has become very strict when it comes to plagiarism. So better not to cut copy paste. Publishing plagiarized works deteriorates the quality and reputation of journals and leads to academic pollution. Hence, it is disliked and abhorred. It is not liked by the journals. Even when you publish and you give your research work to somebody else, like a publishing house or a journal, they will check your plagiarism. If you do not check, they have their own tools, they have their own mechanism. They will make to a point, they will ensure that they check the level of similarity. If you have copied from someone, if you have not given the proper footnoting citation, they will check, and they may not accept your manuscript if you do not change that particular, the level of plagiarism. If you do not change the wording, or if you do not give the proper citation, they may not accept the publication. They will not let it get published. So it's always better to do your plagiarism check yourself. These are the softwares you can use to check the level of plagiarism in your research. List of softwares used to detect plagiarism. Some of them are free of cost, like Dupli Checker. You have Drillbit, Turnitin, Grammarly, Authenticate, Urkund. Urkund has its own, that is original. Plagiarism Checker by EditPad, Flag Scan. And in fact, there are so many other tools also available these days, which you can use free of cost for checking plagiarism. Once you get the plagiarism check report, try to bring that level of similarity to a bare minimum. Try to reduce it. That is what we are saying. We cannot make it zero. There is not that is not possible. There is no possibility that it will come to a zero, but at least it can fall to a 8% or a 7%. Less than 10% is allowed. What are the different types of plagiarism? Investigators during peer review process, that is the people who are going to review your work, what can they do? Okay, these are the certain areas which are gray areas. They can take your ideas, your articles, grants, or your proposals, and they can use in their own publications. That is also plagiarism without giving you the proper due credit for it, or without taking your permission. Students taking material from internet verbatim without attribution, doing the write-ups of research, copy pasting basically. Faculty taking dissertation material or other scholarly work from their own students, and for their own PhD or incentives or funding or promotions, publishing it in their own name. That is again different. These are different kinds of plagiarism activities that people tend to do. Publications without giving due credit to original authors. Self plagiarism amounts to recycling or copy pasting one's past works in several consequent works, failing to cite an indirect quote or paraphrasing it, failing to substantially paraphrase instead of just rewording, failing to attribute the ideas or conclusions of another author, failing to give due credit to all group members for the work done in collaboration with others. This is the most important one. If there are three or four authors who have collaborated on a research project, they have written, even if there are two authors, they have written a research paper together, it is important to give them their due credit. You cannot say that I am the only one who did everything. You'll have to give them the due credit. Otherwise, it will amount to plagiarism. That is taking others' ideas, taking others' works, and without giving them due credit, publishing those things in your own name. So it's important to give them the due credit. Remember, coming to the conclusion part of our session, yesterday and today's session, important thing to remember is all of us can do good research. Keeping all these things in mind, remember that you can do good research. Do not get intimidated, do not get too worried about it. It's easy, it's enjoyable, provided you practice. Okay, so all of us can do good research and make a meaningful social impact on the world around us. You all can do good research.
The question is I would like to ask from the practice point of view that during pleadings we cite certain judgments. That is, in common parlance, we call them case laws. So, how
Yes.
can this theoretical session for these 2 days, whatever information I have received, so how we can apply it to the research of case laws?
So the first question is whether we can use it for the practical thing. Yes. So if you want, like whichever field you might be working in, criminal law, civil law, IPR, cyber law, what you can do is mostly what we do, we refer to different Supreme Court cases or High Court cases, landmark case laws that we say the landmark judgment. So we can use the different citation styles. Mostly in courts, we do not go in such depth. It is only meant for PhD or for LLM dissertation where we require such depth like what we discussed today, MLA, APA. This is not for the courts, but obvious. But for courts, what we can do is we can use the basic citation style that we use, what we were taught in law school, like AIR or SCC or whichever platform, Manupatra. If we are going to refer to that particular case law. For example, there's a Supreme Court case. I'll just take a random example. MC Mehta's cases. MC Mehta versus Union of India. If we want to take that particular case, so we can cite it the way normally we do, keeping it easy, keeping it simple. Maybe SCC or AIR, whichever it is, we can choose that particular citation. So there we might not have to use all of these what we discussed today. What we discussed is from the publishing point of view, not the practice point of view. But for practice purpose, as you asked, sir, for court, we can keep it a simple one. There's no specific rule as such. If you want to, go about it in detail, I don't think it would actually affect the pleadings in any which ways. We don't have to give that much detail because
Okay.
there the this particular approach that we have chosen today is for the publishing houses, for the journals.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the court it might not matter that much. Court will not look into all these nitty gritties
So, no need of going
because
strictly academic while citing judgments in law courts.
No, because there what do we do is like we just go to the SCC or whatever
Correct.
AIR or Manupatra or whichever case law, or maybe Queen's Bench Division, King's Bench Division, whichever this case law we are referring to, the
Correct.
year, the page number, the paragraph, maybe the volume in whichever it is cited, that's enough. I don't think we need to go a little more deeper than that
It's
unless
quite
and until it's required.
quite clear, ma'am. And my second question, with your permission, that currently the laws are amended without taking the proper assent of the member of parliaments and all that, they were suspended. And irrespective of that, now coming to the question or issue of adultery. Now the adultery was going to be criminalized. Now, as you had said that it should not be a copy paste thing, as in academic research or whatever. Now, if we would like to write a letter or submit certain proposals to the law ministry or any concerned department as a citizen of India, and more specifically myself as an advocate. So now
Okay.
here in the issue of not to criminalize adultery, as Mr. Kapil Sibal had also said that it would be an undue intervention of the state in personal affairs. So here, can we purely quote whatever I feel mentally and emotionally, of course, by applying the relevant, prevalent legal principles? And the second sub question is that kindly differentiate between thesis and hypothesis, because this I am a bit confused in thesis and hypothesis. This is a different
Okay.
question. The earlier question is related to
Yes, I
adultery.
understood.
So can, yeah, please.
So the thing is, if you want to write a letter to the Chief Justice of India or to the concerned whoever is the authoritative position,
Ji.
it has to be in a certain format. So I do not have the format right now, but you can just go and check the most of these letters are later on, converted into a writ petition or a PIL mostly.
Hmm.
So you can go on to look at the format that is used. Although it is a letter, it is a kind of a petition on behalf of the people,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. So you can just
True.
select what kind of a format you want, irrespective of the contents, irrespective of the subject matter. And another thing would be, it is not like we are there, you are not publishing it or not, proposing to the journal to publish it. So again, you might not have to follow all these things that we have discussed today. Okay, yesterday and today we have focused on research for publication, like in a thesis or a research paper as a part of some research project. So you might, you might get any other good format and you can go ahead. Okay, if you want to draft a letter the way we have been drafting letters, you can select any format that suits your stance and you can
Okay.
select that format. Another thing is, there are two different concepts when we come to research. Thesis is a kind of your research project or your dissertation, the written one that you submit for the grant of a degree, like LLM, master's degree, or for PhD. So that is your dissertation, the research work that you have done all along 2 years or 3 years or 6 years. So that would be your research work. Okay, the book that you submit, finally you have to compile it and you have to submit it in the form of an e-copy and in the form of your hard
Hmm.
copy book.
Ji.
That is your thesis. Another thing is, what we just discussed today a little bit in quantitative method of research is hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement. It is a single statement, or it can be a group of two or three statements, which are your research questions ultimately. Okay, so you might have read about it in some of the other research papers. There's a hypothesis like a tentative testable statement. It's a statement that you have to test in your research. By the end of your research, if it is verified, if it is proven, it becomes a fact. So that
So,
is your research question.
so like
Okay.
an obiter dictum in a judgment, you say, a personal view,
Mm,
a personal view.
Obiter dictum would be a little different, sir, because that is the observation of
Okay,
the court.
okay, 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 okay.
Okay, so that is just the observation. It is not subject to testing. Here we are testing the hypothesis. We want to verify it. We want to see whether that framework that we have adopted is going to give us certain results or not.
Who
And
is
if we do
who will
get
test the
results,
hypothesis? The
the,
moderator, or
the
we have
researcher,
the
the
researcher
researcher.
will. Okay, he will test his own hypothesis that way.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Using certain statistical methods, using
got
certain
it,
analytical
got
methods,
it,
you
ma'am.
have to test your own hypothesis, your own research question. You have to arrive at certain data, and according to the data, you arrive at certain conclusions. You have to interpret the data and arrive at certain conclusion.
And
So the yes,
yes, yes, yes, please, yes. Yeah,
yes, I
that
hope
that is clarified.
addresses your
Just
question. Yes.
just in very one sentence, can you, with your kind permission and the moderator's permission, because lot of persons have to ask questions now. One last question is that yesterday I had made notes regarding your the mixed method, that is quantity plus quality. That is, you made out a concept known as triangulation. Now in
Yes.
triangulation, any other three factors can also be added, and can they be referred to certain deductive inductive methods, or it will be only strictly to quantity and quality only? That's my question.
Yeah, so basically, when you actually get to do your research, you can select any research method that you feel is most appropriate. It can be quality, quantity. In qualitative, it is always, in a way, inductive. In quantitative, it is always deductive. So, without it goes without saying that these things are all intermingled, these are mixed things. They will come with the flow of your research. But another thing is mixed methods. It's a new, comparatively new kind of doing research where we mix both the methods of qualitative research and quantitative. We use both of them. That is, you use your statistical methods as well as your interviewing or observation and other qualitative techniques. We use both of them to do justice with a particular topic. Okay, there are certain topics where only giving numerical data or statistical data might not help. There are certain topics where only conducting interviews will not give us that proper data, or that data will be such that we cannot actually narrow it down and frame a policy or a law with that data. So we require both qualitative and quantitative research, and there are certain principles of doing it. Okay, there is a technique, there is a theory. Because we have hardly 2 days, I cannot address all of these things in these 2 days. It's
Very true.
a theory in its own uh, right. There are certain principles of triangulation, and accordingly you can carry out your research. That is, both qualitative and quantitative research goes on simultaneously, and
Okay.
that is how you actually generate proper good data.
Okay.
You address
Quantitative
both the
is
things.
deductive. Quantitative is deductive, and qualitative is inductive. Okay. 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 So thanks, ma'am. Much obliged. Thank you very much.
My basic question to you is, can you just distinguish between we always talk about dissertation and thesis. Dissertation for LLM, thesis for PhD students. So, what is the basic difference between these two? Can you just elaborate in brief?
Yes. So the thing is, some institutes or some universities since a very long time have been using the word thesis. Okay, so earlier there was also a degree called MPhil, if you know, which has now been, it's done away with MPhil.
Yeah,
So
today only it has come in the newspaper.
yeah, and so MPhil was a degree where people used to do it. It was known as a child of PhD. It was like a smaller version of PhD. So where people had to write a thesis and they had to work on a research question or research project. So that was the first step, and then you could do PhD. Now it's done away with. So after your masters, you can directly go on to doing PhD. So here, the major distinction would be that thesis is what you do for your masters, or if you would have done a postgraduate diploma. Like I have done a postgraduate diploma in IPR. So it was a 1 year course, and I at University of Mumbai, and you could also give your own thesis, your research work along with what you have studied. You could submit. So there are many universities which asking for a thesis even for a smaller duration, like 1 year course. Okay, so there are various universities which are offering a course for 1 year, and you have to give a thesis. So thesis can be for any smaller projects mostly, and dissertation is like your uh, long work that you do for a um, considerable substantial period of time, like for 3 years, 4 years. But nowadays it is used interchangeably. Some people use PhD thesis, whereas some people are using dissertation for even their master's research project or research work. So again, it doesn't make much difference in today's times because we are using different words for different things with different set of meanings. But earlier it was so that thesis would be for something which is done on a shorter scale, and dissertation would be on a longer scale. In today's times, the thing is, because English is also it has evolved and we are using it in different sense of the term, so it's become more or less the same, you can say,
Okay, thanks.
depending on what your university uses. If they are saying PhD dissertation or PhD thesis or master's thesis, submit your research proposal, you just stick to the words that your institute or university prefers you to use.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay,
Yes.
so ma'am, the last question for the day is, can you provide some tips on selecting an appropriate title and formulating the research question?
Selecting an appropriate title would be dependent upon what is your research area. So basically, if you are interested in a particular research area, you'll have to also find out what all research has been done before you, so that you cannot repeat your title. Okay, you cannot take a title which has already been chosen by other people. So that is one thing for sure. Second would be, your title should be crisp, as we saw it today. It has to be short. It can be descriptive, but it has to be short, interesting, arousing curiosity, and it should be complete in itself. That is one thing. Another question would, what would be your question, ma'am? The second part of it,
Tips
was it
on
regarding research
formulating the
problem?
research question.
Research question. So research question and title are again interlinked. So the title that we choose, okay, the title has to be such that it arouses our curiosity as readers, as reviewers, as publishers. But the research question has to be more specific, because it that is the question that we start with, and that is the question that we have to answer towards the end of the research. So question has to be again very direct, narrowed down. I cannot do a research just on, suppose I want to do a research on legal aid. I cannot just take that concept, legal aid, research on legal aid. That will not take me anywhere. So I have to narrow it down. What are the characteristics, or what are the specific areas of legal aid that I want to research on? I have to narrow it down to such an area which is practicable, which is actually doable within a proper budget and time frame. At the same time, it has to, as I said, arouse a little curiosity in the minds of the researchers, other readers, publishers, because ultimately, whatever research you do, it has to see the light of day, it has to be approved, or needs to get published. So there's no you cannot say there's a specific or fixed rule of selecting your title, or any rule of selecting your research question. There are no rules as such. You can choose whatever suits your research best, whatever describes it in a very good, uh, crisp, and specific wording. And at the same time, as I said, it should not get repetitive. You cannot repeat your title. Say, suppose some friend of yours has already done PhD in a particular area. That area can be the same, but you cannot choose the same title. You have to focus on some other aspect of that same area. So title, getting a title approved, getting a title registered is another big thing. And it will only improve with time. All these concepts will improve with time. This was just a basic introduction that we had in 2 days, because it's the time is running and we do not have sufficient time to do everything in detail. It was just an introduction, but I hope it will help some of you who are doing your LLB, LLM, PhD. It will help you in some other way, hopefully.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing a bird's eye view on the topic. Really, it was of great help to all of us. Hope to have you again, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.